Did you know that after 70, what causes many people to lose their freedom the fastest isn't illness, nor aging itself, but their own family? It may sound hard to believe, but the truth is, the moment you loosen certain boundaries, even loving family members can unintentionally turn you into someone dependent until you no longer have a voice in your own life. And if you've ever thought, it's fine to let my children make decisions for me, stop right there, because that is the beginning of losing not only respect, but also your autonomy. The very first boundary that anyone over 70 must set is the right to control their own finances. I once knew an elderly woman who, after retiring, handed over all her bank cards to her son, believing it would be more convenient and safer that way. But within just a few years, every expense required his approval, from buying a set of clothes to taking a small trip. Gradually, she was no longer allowed to decide anything related to her own money. The sad truth is, no one intended to strip away her independence. But it was her own initial leniency that caused her to lose control. To avoid falling into that situation, remember, finances are the foundation of independence. You can accept support from your children, but your accounts, bank cards, and pension must remain in your name and under your control. You can certainly listen to the advice of your children and grandchildren, but the final decision must always be yours. Because once you lose this boundary, you lose the greatest freedom in life, the right to choose how you want to live. Another equally important boundary, often overlooked after 70, is the boundary of personal decision-making. At this stage of life, many people think letting their children decide for them makes things easier. But the truth is the opposite. If you don't maintain the right to decide, you will gradually be seen as passive and lose respect from even your closest family members. I once knew an elderly man who loved tending to his little garden in front of the house. But after his children moved back in with him, every time he wanted to plant new flowers or change the layout, his son would say, "Dad, you're too old. Let us decide. It'll be quicker." At first, he thought it was fine, as long as the family stayed harmonious. But over time, he realized that even the smallest aspects of daily life, what to eat, where to go, how to spend his time, were no longer his choices. One day, he sighed and said, "It feels like I'm living in this house, but I'm no longer the owner." That is the price of not setting boundaries. So remember clearly, the right to make decisions about your daily life is non-negotiable. From meals and healthcare to personal hobbies like reading, walking, or gardening, these choices must be yours. Children can give input, they can help, but the final decision must rest with you. Ask yourself, if today I don't dare make choices for myself, then tomorrow who will respect my choices at all? Keeping this boundary means keeping your voice, your dignity, and your respect within the family. Another boundary, often forgotten but vitally important, is the boundary of personal privacy. Many people believe that after 70, it's fine to let children know everything about their personal matters, thinking there's nothing to hide. But in reality, when you don't maintain this boundary, privacy slowly disappears, and with it, your sense of independence and comfort in your own home. I recall an elderly woman who lived with her son's family. Whenever she was on the phone with friends, her daughter-in-law would casually listen in or even interrupt the conversation. Or when she simply wanted to sit quietly and read in her room, her grandchild would burst in without knocking, scattering toys everywhere. At first, she thought there was no need to make a fuss, telling herself, "It's a shared home after all." But over time, she began to feel suffocated, as if she were only a guest in her own room. We must understand this clearly. Growing older does not mean losing the right to privacy. Everyone needs a personal space of their own, to rest, to breathe, to preserve their sense of independence. That might be a private room, a favorite chair on the porch, or simply the right to close the door when you need quiet. Be honest with your family. "I need some time alone to read," or "I want this room to truly be mine." When you dare to assert this boundary, Your family will learn to respect it and understand that privacy is also a part of dignity. And when your private space is protected, you will feel more at ease, more comfortable, and happier in your own home. Another sensitive but essential boundary to establish is the boundary of financial responsibility. After 70, many parents and grandparents often feel they must provide for their children until the very end, from contributing to buying a house, paying off debts, to covering everyday expenses. But when this boundary fades, not only money, but also respect and your position within the family can quickly vanish. I once knew an elderly man who deeply loved his son. Whenever his son faced financial difficulties, he would immediately dip into his savings to help without a second thought. At first, his son was grateful. But gradually, he began to rely on his father as an endless backup fund. And when the father himself needed money for medical care, he found himself short, forced to depend on his children in return. The truth is, unconditional financial sacrifice can strip you of both security and independence. Helping is good, but it must have limits. You can absolutely say, I can support a small part, but you'll need to handle the rest yourself. Or, this money is reserved for my health care. I hope you understand. When you clearly state your boundaries, your children learn responsibility for their own lives. Remember, finances are the foundation of independence in old age. When you know how to protect your wallet, you are not only safeguarding your health and peace of mind, you are preserving the right to live independently in later life, without becoming a burden to anyone. One final but incredibly important boundary is respect in communication. After the age of 70, many people no longer feel heard the way they once did. Sometimes, even within their own families, they are treated as if they are out of date. Short, dismissive words, impatient looks, or disregarding your opinions can slowly make you feel invisible. I remember visiting a family where Grandma Ann, 74 years old, shared her story. During a family discussion about selling their old house and moving elsewhere, her son, daughter, and even her grandchildren argued back and forth. Yet, no one ever asked for Ann's opinion, even though she had spent her entire life in that home. She sat quietly, feeling like a guest in her own life. When I asked her about it, she simply said, I've gotten used to no one needing to hear me anymore. This is exactly why you must set a clear boundary. Otherwise, you may slowly become invisible within your own family. Don't be afraid to say, I want to be heard. My opinion matters. When you affirm that, you not only reclaim respect for yourself, but also teach your children and grandchildren that communication must always be mutual, no matter the age. Respect does not mean always agreeing. It means that every voice deserves to be heard. We have just gone through 5 essential boundaries that everyone after 70 needs to set. The right to financial control, the right to personal decisions, the right to private space, the right to autonomy and financial responsibilities, respect and communication. All of these boundaries are not only to protect you, but also to remind your family that you are still an independent individual, worthy of respect and a voice in every matter. Take a moment to reflect. Among these 5 boundaries, which one do you feel you need to establish today? Don't let silence take away your control over life. It can all begin with a firm word, a clear decision, or even a straightforward conversation with your loved ones. Each of these steps can change the way others see you. If this video resonates with you, leave a comment and share which boundary speaks to your heart the most. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this video so that more people can reclaim their independence and respect after 70. And in the next video, we will dive deeper into a subtle but deeply important skill. Why people over 60 need to learn to say no more often, and the 6 emotional lessons behind it. Trust me, you'll see this as the key to preserving your peace and self-worth.